Did they really change my boy Bruno's stand name from Sticky Fingers to Zipper Man? Bro, now I know how it feels. Now I understand. Now I understand why so many in the past used to get on to me when I was reviewing part 3 and part 4 and say, Chibi, you're saying the stand name wrong. It's not like Worst Company or whatever. It's so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, okay, I understand now. Like, I understand that after watching this episode. Just seeing what they called Sticky Fingers, I'm just like, oh my god, really, of all names. It's just, they give him, like, a superhero name, like, Zipper Man. That's pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. But okay, so, yeah. Anyways, this episode is downright gorgeous. Words alone cannot really describe how beautiful this episode is. I mean, I talked about it in length in my first impressions of part 5 for episode 1, but oh my god, like, just the beauty, the absolute beauty of part 5 animated is just mind-blowing. I mean, I thought it was beautiful, reading the color manga pages, the colored version of JoJo part 5, I thought it was beautiful. But just seeing it animated and seeing how much dedication and passion David Production is doing for JoJo part 5, I think this is the first time they've really went this hard. Like, they've always done a fantastic job with JoJo. Going back from part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, they've actually gotten better as time went on. I still, in some ways, I love the design of part 4, but I do prefer the masculine look of part 3. But I have to say, part 5 animated, this is easily, in terms of just art animation, the beauty, it is the most beautiful, in my opinion, out of all the parts I've seen animated. Because seeing Giorno and the way he just moves about in the anime, just that entire scene where Giorno, he actually just, is behind his stand, and he, like, holds his stand, he's doing, like, a pose, a JoJo pose, that was a epic looking scene. And, I really love just the way the characters just shine, and they have this, like, feminine appeal to them, like, this look. And it really just shows that Araki really has great character designs. It's something he's always been good at. He's always been very good at costume designs, which a little bit of a tidbit if you're unaware, because manga readers are big fans of JoJo are going to be aware of this, but if you're an anime only that's just watching the anime, then you're not going to really know. But Araki, the writer of JoJo, actually had like a partnership deal with Gucci in the past, where he actually was designing outfits, which would explain why like Giorno and Bruno's outfit is just so freaking beautiful, why there's just so much detail to it, is because Araki, he literally had a partnership with them to make them outfits and stuff, design them. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you just see how his designs have gotten even more beautiful as time goes on. Let's be real here. If you had the option of getting a suit like, what Giorno has or Bruno has, you probably would get it too, because they look pretty freaking fabulous. I would wear that around. No, seriously. If I received one of those outfits, no joke, I would be wearing it for JoJo reviews. I would be straight up walking outside in public with it. I don't care, no shame. I don't care if my chest is showing. I have no problem with it. I love the outfit designs. And so, yeah, that really does explain why the outfits or character designs of JoJo Part 5 especially is just so freaking good. But okay, I think I've kept you waiting long enough. Let's talk about that opening song. If there's one thing you could always expect from JoJo, it's the opening. Yes, the content is great, but the opening song is something I always look forward to when it comes to JoJo, because honestly, to this very day, I still listen to JoJo Part 3's opening song, the final opening song with Dio, where it's like, Muna, 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 Muna. I still listen to that to this day, and it's honestly one of my personal favorite opening songs I have ever seen. And the reason why I say that is because it was so iconic at that moment in the final act of Part 3 of JoJo, where you have Jotaro, he's walking up the staircase to Dio, and when he gets up there, when we first see the opening, if you're not a manga reader, time stops and Dio's right behind him and all that. But then, as we finally find out about Dio's power, literally the opening song stops for Dio to say, Zawaldo! And he just walks behind Jotaro and looks around at him. That was probably one of my favorite moments in the opening, and so I've always loved JoJo openings, because they always are special. They have these little details that really can kind of tell you what's going to happen, but they don't just downright spoil it, which that's kind of what happened in the latest opening song for One Piece, which, don't get me wrong, love the new One Piece opening, but a lot of spoilers in it. So just seeing how, even in this opening, there's a lot of things that you can get from it that happen in the future for Part 5. It's not downright spoiled where you're going to be upset. Anime onlys are not going to catch anything at all, and I appreciate that. That's one thing I've always loved about David Production, is that when you go back and watch the opening songs, you notice all the details that were in front of you the entire time. You didn't notice it. It didn't click in your head because you're like, whoa, they hit it so well. And it's not just stuff like that, but it's just the music, just to the character designs in the opening. They really just go, pedal to the metal with the designs of the opening. They've always been very unique, and the song just fits it incredibly well, especially with the theme of Part 5 of JoJo being all gangsters and stuff. So yeah, opening song, quality. Probably my favorite opening song for this anime season. Easily one of my favorites. That's how good it is. Now, ending song. I've heard that song before. I honestly have heard that song before in the past. I don't know exactly where, but I have heard it. But okay, content that happened within the episode. So most of the episode is seeing Giorno and Bruno go at each other. But if there's one thing I do want to point out, besides, the outcome of it, to the abilities, describing that, I want to talk about what Giorno's stand said when he attacked Bruno at the beginning of this episode. He said, Muda. That fuels me. Because, FYI, if you've forgotten, remember Dio, he was like, Muda, 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 Muda. That's, what Dio does. And, as you know, Giorno, he is Dio's son. Yes, I know, it's the original JoJo's body. I know that. I'm just saying that technically it still is Dio's son. Giorno is, Dio's son. So, seeing him say Muda when he attacks, I really love that, because, having, someone that is related to Dio actually as, a main character of a story that's not probably going to be completely evil is entertaining. It's definitely different, a different feel, a theme to what we've had through Part 1 through Part 4. So yeah, that's something that really shined to me. Now, there was one detail that was cut out, which I also know is a meme as well before I really started getting into JoJo memes. That is, Giorno lied. That was removed after the little backstory we got in this episode. It was supposed to be there, but apparently David Productions, they didn't add it at all, which it's upsetting, but, things happen. They can't be completely perfect all the time. I mean, let's be real here, okay? JoJo fans have been around a lot longer than I have in terms of loving the series. Let's be real. Out of all of the long-running manga and stuff you've seen throughout the years, iconic series, beautiful series, you have to admit, JoJo is one of those series that always gets respect. So, let's just be happy for what we get, because it is not bad by any means. Easily one of the highest quality series of this year, of 2018. Easily, and potentially probably going to be the best series of 2018. Yes, it has competition like Devilman Crybaby, but it doesn't matter. JoJo is quality, and if they animate this right, and they go all the way up to the very end, which we know they will, then it's going to be an enjoyable watch. It's definitely going to be high quality, especially when we finally get that final opening song with the sound effects attached to it. But okay, let's talk about, the abilities, Bruno's abilities to, Giorno's abilities and what they want to do, the motive or the main objective of this story. So Bruno, as we know, he wants to kill Giorno because he feels like Giorno has details on Luca. Luca was someone that we saw Giorno kind of end in the last episode because he attacked Giorno, and then because of Giorno's stand ability, the damage was reflected pretty much back, and the man died. His head, got caved in, and he passed out. Technically, it wasn't Giorno's fault. He did warn Luca multiple times, like, hey, stop, 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 and then the man just attacked, and that was it. So, it's not necessarily Giorno's fault, but he isn't telling the truth, which, it'd be really bad, and it's not like something he could really explain either. He's like, hey, I have an ability to where all damage that comes at me, basically, I can kind of reflect it back or whatever, so that's not something he could really say to anyone, and, he just recently got his stand, so it's not like he could really explain it to people, because people think you're crazy or something, so that's not going to help his case at all. So yeah, he was in a difficult spot. And Bruno, he was coming after and trying to seek answers from Giorno, which in turn started a fight. We got to see a lot of different abilities from Bruno, which was very unique, and I just want to point out that at first glance, when you look at Bruno's stand, Sticky Fingers, it looks very basic. It doesn't look like it's anything ridiculous. Like, when you think of a man that's able to create zippers on any object, it doesn't seem that crazy. Like, okay, example. Let's say if I was to put a zipper on my piece of clothing and just able to zip it down, just standard. I'd make a zipper on a shirt or something. But think about it in actual use, which you did get to see in this episode. He was able to put zippers on different body parts, and he was able to actually detach body parts and put other body parts on, which in turn, it shows how versatile his ability is. He's able to literally become like a patchwork monster if he really wanted to. He's able to detach people's heads or whatever and just hold on to them while they're probably alive. And it shows that his ability, even though it doesn't seem like anything ridiculous, it doesn't have like a time stop ability, it definitely is something that you shouldn't think is weak by any means. Because what he demonstrated could be very OP depending on how he applies it in his fights. And we do know when it comes to stand powers, stand abilities, that sometimes even the weakest of stands can shine in certain situations. We have seen this even in Part 4, Part 3, and so on. We've seen it. We've seen, different fights and how stands are used. And not always that they look or appear to be weak, they actually are weak. It just depends on who they're really going up to. It's always kind of like, rock, paper, scissors, just it really depends on your opponent. But anyways, Bruno's stem, I think, in terms of the way they applied it in this first episode, of seeing it like episode 2, I think David Productions did a good job, especially with the sound effects. The sound effects were so spot on. I love those sound effects when it was being used. And the design, the color palette of seeing how, Sticky Fingers was animated. Oh my god, I love the way it looks in anime form, and I just love the little poses and stuff, so I'm getting a little bit fanboy here, but yes, I like just the depiction of Bruno in this episode. Now, Giorno, his fight in this episode, he found out a little bit more about himself. He does confirm that he's able to turn any organic matter or objects into life. He does state that, but he said he's never really tried to attack a living object, like a human, and what would happen. And we get to actually see what happens if he does attack a living creature. And what does happen is that he speeds up the consciousness of the person, which in turn means their mind is moving so fast that their body cannot keep up. Have you ever heard of the situation where your mind is thinking 50 different things, but because of the limitations of your body, you can't really do that much? That's pretty much what happened. But Giorno sped it up to a ridiculous level to where Bruno thought he was moving super fast and all. He's like, yeah, I got this. But then he looked around and he realized his body has not even raised its arms at all because his consciousness is moving so freaking fast. And that just shows how scary Giorno's ability really can be. Because, it can really mess with you. If you can actually see what's coming and you're able to think ahead, it doesn't matter if you can't move your body. If your body is lagging behind, you're not going to do crap about it. So it shows that, in turn, it would be ridiculously hard to be able to fight back if you're in that state, if your mind is sped up to that point to where you see your body lagging behind, but you're still moving incredibly fast, in your mind. So yeah, Giorno's ability, broken in some ways. I have to say, from the first glance of looking at the way his abilities are applied in this episode, it doesn't appear to be as broken as Josuke's abilities. If you compare Josuke's ability from, the Part 4, you would say his is a lot stronger, but we'll have to see where that goes. Anyways, the end goal of Part 5, from what we could see from at least Episode 2, is that Giorno wants to become a gang star. Not a gangster, gang star, which I love how that's pretty much a Joestar reference. But he wants to become a gangster. And he wants to be able to become a leader of an organization, a gang, for he can change the city. He wants to make it to where no children or anybody will get hurt. He wants to make it to where it's like a typical gang, but it actually protects the weak. It protects, the children. Doesn't bring them into any harm. And so Bruno, being someone that's very similar to Giorno, they're probably going to be working together and become allies. So that's pretty much the setup, the objective so far of, this series, which definitely changes the theme of what we're used to when it comes to JoJo. Because when we think back, part 1, it was taking down Dio. Part 2, it was taking down the Pillar Man. Part 3, it was taking down Dio, once again, finding Dio, taking down Dio. Part 4 was basically finding Kira, which was a serial killer, and then putting him down. And then now part 5, it's like, oh, I want to become a gangster. I want to, help out the town, help out, this country. So it's definitely different. The overall story so far is being structured very differently compared to what we're used to when it comes to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But it doesn't just stop there as well. If you also have read a lot of manga, you'll notice that there is a lot of similarities to Sunken Rock. And I mean, if you're a fan of Sunken Rock and how the story was pretty much about a dude that wanted to become like a mob boss that ruled South Korea, then you're definitely going to see some correlations here in JoJo Part 5. It's kind of similar, especially with just the way this episode was depicted, and I think if you're a fan of Sunken Rock, you're really going to love Part 5 JoJo. But I think I'm going to end it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How'd you feel about this episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? How do you feel about everything that happened? How do you feel about the abilities of Sticky Fingers? How do you feel about Giorno's ability? I mean, be honest in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.